Welcome to Saving the Association. My name's Tanner Simmons, joined by my co-host, Brett Vriesman.
Good to see you all here this morning, evening, or night, whenever you're watching it.
And we are really excited to tell you about a new show that we have prepared and put together based on some of the things we're seeing and hearing through the NBA.
Yeah, this NBA show is called Saving the Association. And what it pretty much is it's just a couple of longtime friends and NBA junkies getting together to talk about different hot takes on what the league could do to make it better. There's a lot of discussion going on about how it's really struggling and want to just be able to have conversations about those things and not just kvetch about what we don't like about the NBA, but also come up with some awesome solutions because, they're going to totally listen to what we have to say.
Yeah.
But we're going to be talking about everything from the players to the teams, the management, fans alike, all those things is what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, and typically how this will work is we'll run through a format where we interview guests who have really unique perspectives based on their backgrounds in basketball, everyone from the high school, college, and pro level, and what they think would actually, course correct where the NBA is right now. And also, it's just going to be fun to hear some of these personalities weigh in on some of their love of basketball and the things that they think would be, again, good contributors. But before we do that, we like to talk about a little bit of what's going on currently in the NBA. And last night, Brett's Bulls, as you can see on his count there, had a really nice come-from-behind win against the Lakers in an improbable last-second display of heroics that Brett just got caught up on. Not to call out your fandom, but Brett just saw this. So Brett,
I guess my family had to take the priority.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Your Bulls are in a pretty good spot, and the Lakers had them pretty much, dead to right. And so, what are your thoughts on the Bulls comeback win?
Oh man, it was so exciting. It's funny. Last night we were camping, didn't have any service, got in service this morning, and my dad's like, "You got to watch the last 5 minutes of this game. Maybe the best comeback win I've ever witnessed for the Bulls." And so I went and I watched it on NBA TV, and oh my goodness, that steal to get that 3-pointer, and even just the last 3 minutes of the game, holy cow, they just clawed their way back, and both teams had great plays, and the Bulls just got lucky, so it was awesome.
Yeah, some were excited, some were happy, some were even giddy. On to the next topic. Taylor Jenkins was let go today as well, the Memphis head coach. With only about 10 games left in the season, which is really interesting given that they are obviously playoff bound. But their defense has dropped dramatically from earlier in the season to, I think, about 20th in the league right now. Not that that's grounds for canning a coach, especially of his caliber in his 6th year with a pretty good squad. But what are your thoughts, Brett, on some of the reasons potentially that the Grizzlies would part ways, in particular this time of the season with Taylor?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems really desperate because, like I said, you had mentioned they're about 20th. They were 7th the first half of the year in defense, and now they've dropped to like 20th the second half, and they've had reasons for that. Ja's been in and out with some injuries the second half of the season, and to me, there has to be something else going on there, or else I don't know why they would have let him go. He's got years of winning. I think one of the reasons claimed was the team felt he lost the locker room.
Yeah.
But I just went to the Memphis Grizzlies Jazz game, and obviously it's the Jazz. Sorry, Tanner, no offense.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But he didn't look like he lost the locker room on the floor when I went and watched him play just a few days ago. So I don't know. It did definitely seem to come out of left field.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the NBA is having a moment where some things are happening that are inexplicable, right? From the Luka trade to the Lakers, and now this, where otherwise good situations for successful people like Taylor and like Luka being moved or let go, it's a little bit head scratching. And again, I'm sure there's deeper reasons than we know that we'll find out later. And again, timing is really interesting. But yeah, similar to what you had mentioned, I had just scrolled through some comments on social media to see a lot of the Grizzly fan base saying, thank goodness we're free of this guy. It's about time. This was not Grizzly basketball. And for those who don't follow the Grizzlies closely, which is, admittedly myself, I was under the impression that there was a really good thing going and that they were kind of on the verge, but had caught some unfortunate health breaks over time And so, that any moment could be another opportunity for the Grizzlies to do well. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and to see where Taylor goes. There's a number of really potentially good fits in this offseason. And I'm just very curious to see what the Grizzlies do going forward in the playoffs. Okay, great. Now, what we like to do in this segment upcoming it's called Full Court Press. We ask a number of questions to our guests to get a better understanding of who they are, some of their loves and dislikes for basketball, as well as some things that help us get an understanding of where their point of view is going to be in fixing things. Right? Brett had mentioned we want to address perception and what is at least for the optics purposes of this, seen as problematic in the NBA right now. But because our first guest isn't scheduled until next week, we are going to do this exercise with none other than Brett Riesman to get to know him a little bit better and to get an understanding of where Brett's coming from. So, Brett, I'm gonna press you here. Brett and I played high school basketball together, so he's never truly been full court pressed because he was always standing at half court or deeper.
Thank goodness.
Did not want him dribbling up. Okay, Brett. So, highest level of basketball you've played, and where was that?
Yeah, so I played some college basketball. I went to a junior college called Big Bend Community College in Moses Lake, Washington. And then I finished out at Montana State University Northern, which was an NAIA Division I school.
Excellent. I don't have to ask, but just to make it clear, your favorite team?
Oh, Chi-Town, baby. Chicago Bulls.
And you know what? You're not from Chicago.
I'm not from Chicago. So my family grew up in the Midwest, moved around a lot, and Chicago Bulls were the team that stuck. And I want to give myself a little bit of credit. I was not a bandwagon jumper. I actually started following the Bulls religiously after Jordan retired, watching Dickie Simpkins dominate the paint and Randy Brown leading the charge. So
absolutely, Eddie Curry.
Yeah,
the boys. a lot of fun players there. Who was your favorite player growing up?
That's a really easy one for me. It was always David Robinson. There's a number of reasons why I looked up to him. I always loved he was a lefty. I'm a lefty. I loved that he could score in the post, play good defense, and also had a pretty nice jumper, mid-range jumper. And the other thing, he had a faith in Christ, and that was something that was always really important to me too. So it was just on a number of levels, he was someone that I always really just admired.
I love it. In your mind, who's maybe the most overrated player in the game right now?
We've had this discussion a few times, and I feel like I always change my answers.
That's good.
But I have to say probably James Harden, just because I've never felt like he's been a winning basketball player. And now I think the rest of the league fans are starting to catch up to that idea too. I think a lot of people see him as overrated. He's probably actually properly rated now.
Yeah.
But like over the years, I feel like he's been someone that just never produces like winning basketball.
Yeah. I was gonna say why, but it sounds like the wins are a big part of what you esteem a good player to be, right? Someone who's successful, going farther in the playoffs, not just putting up hollow numbers, which James is known to do.
Yes.
We all know a guy like that. And then also, the moment you knew you were going to not be in the league. Clearly, you're not there now as far as we're concerned or that we know of. But what was the moment that dawned on you? You're like,
so I've kind of got a couple things that got me to that point. One was I remember being in fourth grade, and I was like 5'4", 140 pounds in fourth grade, which is a pretty big fourth grade boy.
Yeah.
And I had this printout of Shaq's growth chart. And I was on track with Shaq, and I was like, "This is going to be great! Like, I'm destined for greatness." And there came a point about like 8th grade where like Shaq was 6'7" or something like that, and I was like still about 5'9". I was like, "Oh, okay, this isn't going to happen." But I got that big growth spurt the next year, and so like, okay, I'm back on. But then I quit growing. So to answer the question a little bit more is, I think once I quit growing in 9th grade, I had an idea like, oh, the way I play maybe isn't going to translate into the league. And we went to a big time, a Reebok big time tournament in Vegas. And I remember just playing in a division that was like the lowest division. And all these guys still felt really good. And then going and watching the upper divisions, which were like OJ Mayo and Greg Oden and some of those guys. And they were just amazing.
Yeah.
So that was my moment.
There's levels to this for sure. Yeah. Even when I feel good in City League, sometimes I'm reminded, I'm like, okay, we wouldn't do anything to a JUCO right now. Who wouldn't do anything to a D1 team? Who wouldn't do anything to an NBA team, right? So it's crazy. All right, great. And then if you can remember this, who's probably one of the best players you've ever played against in a competitive setting?
Best player that I've ever played against in a competitive setting. Ooh. I'd say it's not necessarily a competitive setting, but with some pickup ball. We have a college in Twin Falls, a junior college that brings a lot of D1 talent and NBA players through. And I got to play against Carrick Felix in some pickup games, and he was just so athletic. So just everything was so easy and natural. The other guy was a point guard for Kentucky. His name is Kevin Galloway, and he's just so long. Like you'd think you could get a shot up, and he's about 10 feet away, and all of a sudden he's blocking your shot. So I think those two would probably be the top players I've played against.
Awesome. And then the last question, who's a guy that you defend on a daily basis? If someone is attacking the league, and in someone in particular, who's somebody, maybe past or present, that you're like, no, this guy's actually great?
Okay. Ooh,
I'm putting you on the spot because we haven't chatted about this one.
No, we haven't talked about that one.
It might just be that you're defending to your dad on the Bulls roster.
I would say probably, and once again, he's getting more respect now, but Derrick Rose, like anyone that doesn't remember MVP Derrick Rose, like that guy took a team that couldn't score on his back and brought them to the Eastern Conference Finals. And he was just starting to get a shooting touch going, and then he tore his ACL. He had, I think, the game he tore his ACL, it was the first round against Philly. He had 39-9. It was the first game of the series. Coach Tibbs left him in the game, whatever.
Shocker.
But, yeah, I won't defend him. But no, I'd say Derrick Rose is the guy that I think, like, people would talk about Steph, they talk about Russ, they talk about Chris Paul, and those guys were all scared to play against Derrick.
Yeah.
And he was only like 22 when he won his MVP. So,
yep. Local boy, maybe one of the greatest what ifs in NBA history, definitely up there. Awesome. Well, Brett, really appreciate it. Really looking forward to next week with our guest, and we're going to feature some other segments as we start to get some input. Would love to hear what you guys have to say about reasons you feel the NBA is, maybe in a little bit of a valley, right now, and how it could get back to a peak. We're more or less trying to talk about solutions, things that we think would be helpful in terms of formatting and everything else, because let's face it, we have high standards for this league and we care. And this is why we're concerned and why we make a fuss about it, is because we want it to be in a good place. And so let us know what you think. We'll drop a link below on where you can do that. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great day.